So I'm going through a critical period of my professional development. And in addition to being critical, it is in many ways undefined, underparameterized, open-ended, nebulous, vague, and therefore fraught with anxieties and uncertainties. And I have a job interview in a few minutes, and I will have other job interviews after this in all likelihood. In fact, I can say that with complete certainty. So I asked myself the following question. What is the mindset of somebody who has been training for some single Olympic event their whole life? So consider somebody like Jesse Owens, who was the famous sprinter, or Michael Phelps, who just won all these gold medals again. In these cases, where such people are concerned, there is some one event that lasts around 20 seconds, 5 seconds to 30 seconds that they're training for their entire lives. And how do they do that? Because the interview that I'm about to do is of almost no consequence. There are 55 other interviews after it that I can do, that I will do if this one doesn't work out, or even if it does work out. And it's simply not that important. It's not that important given what it is that I do. And yet I'm very nervous. I'm going to be honest. I might as well be honest, because honesty is a writer's best friend. All honest people are creative, and all dishonest people are sterile. That is a fact. And it's an important incidental point. But I asked myself, well, how does somebody like that prepare? And let's focus on the time when Michael Phelps or Carl Lewis or whoever had to run that first Olympic race or do that first Olympic competition, whatever their sport was. How did they do it? And so I did a little online research, and what turned out to be the case is that almost all Olympians have the same level of ability. If you actually look at the performances of 100 different Olympians in a given area, in a given sport, and you look at all the 100-yard dashes or all the steeplechases or whatever that they've done, you don't really find too much of a difference. In fact, you're hard-pressed even to find the sort of marginal difference that would explain why somebody like Michael Phelps wins 12 gold medals and somebody else wins no medals at all, even bronze medals. And it turns out that the real pivot is the ability to focus on the present moment to the exclusion of everything else. And this I found extremely striking, because what troubles me, and it actually troubles me not when I'm actually doing the thing, interestingly, but during the moments leading up to the thing. When I'm actually doing it, I actually do kind of shift into a different gear. It's kind of interesting, but that's a matter for another podcast. But in the moments leading up to it, my mind darts all over the place. And these people had the ability to think only about the task at hand. That was it. And yes, they all have finely honed skills, but a given Olympian's performance cannot be explained, his relative performance, in other words, his performance relative to other Olympians cannot be explained in terms of his relative skill level, because they all have the same skill level. And the difference is that the ones who come away with the gold are the ones who are able to focus on the task at hand. It actually has to do with a kind of psychological and perhaps even a moral centeredness. And I think that's why ultimately we are interested in the Olympics. I mean, look, a cheetah is a lot faster than the fastest human sprinter, but when a cheetah runs a 100-yard dash and does it in 2 seconds, it's not a moral accomplishment. But when some human being runs a 100-yard dash in 9.68 seconds as opposed to 9.69 seconds, that can be the greatest accomplishment in the world, at least of a certain kind. Why? Because the accomplishment is not running fast. The accomplishment is doing one thing with complete purity and focus. So the thing that distinguishes you from the next guy is the ability to focus on the task at hand. It is sometimes a matter of ability, but that's usually not the case because people of different abilities tend to kind of self-segregate. So you're going to be competing against other people of the same level of ability. And what's going to, or very likely, in fact, inevitably, of lesser ability in many cases, and what's going to decide the outcome is who can focus more on the task at hand, who can completely subordinate their entire being, immerse their entire being in that one task. And that is deeply important.